This podcast has generated over 500 million views on YouTube. But no, they didn't hack the algorithm, they did something better. Stephen Bartlett has interviewed everyone, from Jordan Peterson to Neil deGrasse Tyson, Simon Cowell, will.i.am, and even one of the Spice Girls. How? Well, he has a secret. In a time when everybody and their grandma has started a podcast, Stephen found out that to go more viral than his competition, he had to start a wildfire. Here's what I mean. Just like you need 3 specific components to start a fire, you need 3 special elements to make your podcast explode. When you use these elements the right way, you create a self-sustaining fire that draws viewers in, keeps them watching, and spreads your podcast across YouTube. And I'll show you what these 3 elements are and how you can use them today. Starting with the spark. Now, when you think about starting a fire, this is likely the first thing that comes to mind. This is such a strong concept that whenever people feel strongly attracted to someone, they'll say sparks fly. Well, this is the reaction you want people to have when they hear about your podcast. This sense of attraction and wanting to know more. Which is why igniting the spark is the first thing that you need to do with your podcast. Here's how. Let's go back to a Diary of a CEO's channel and see if you can find out which video got more views and why. So first, let's look at this video here. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you want to click on this video and learn more about it? Now, take a look at this video. From 1 to 10, how much do you want to watch it? If you're an avid coffee drinker, that was probably a 10 for you, and you're at least a little bit worried right now. No wonder this video got 6.3 million views while the other one got 50,000, all because it successfully ignited a spark within you, an emotion, some sense of worry that makes you want to know more. This spark is what ignites curiosity and draws people in, making them click on your podcast. Because just as every fire needs an initial spark, virality on YouTube begins with the first thing that catches your attention, your title and thumbnail. And I know you already heard about titles and thumbnails before, but here's what you're missing. A formula to put it into practice. And I'm going to break down this formula for you using the thumbnails that we've already seen today. The first thing, it's kind of obvious, but the problem is that people don't take advantage of it because they don't go in depth with this tool. I'm talking about color. You see, thumbnail A highlights the text in blue while thumbnail B highlights it in red. This matters because red is an eye-catching color that creates a stronger contrast with the background. This simple detail makes it more likely for people to notice your thumbnail and watch your video. But this just scratches the surface. If you want to use colors like the best YouTubers in the world, here's what you need to know. This is the color wheel. This tool helps you choose colors that will go together well to grab people's attention. Now, there are several different ways to combine the colors with the wheel, but the main one is to use colors on opposite ends of the spectrum, like blue and orange, red and green, and purple and yellow. Now, if you look at Mr. Beast's thumbnails, this is what he does all the time, and it's a big reason that he gets so many clicks on his videos. But we have another hidden element that makes a lot of difference in your video's success: the thumbnail text. The main problem with thumbnail A is it doesn't create any curiosity gaps. A curiosity gap is when you give the viewer something that makes them ask why or how. For example, Inside the World's Greatest Minds doesn't really make people ask themselves how or why. But with thumbnail B, we immediately want to know why coffee, something that most people drink on a daily basis, is killing us, and how exactly is it doing it. Now, the title creates even more curiosity by teasing what the guest found out after scanning over 250,000 brains. But there's one last thing that makes this video's packaging so effective. This is the final blow that makes the other 2 items we talked about 100 times more powerful. Now, if we look at title A, we see the guest is called Jake Humphrey, but it's unclear of who he is and what he does. Using the greatest minds in the title might imply that he's one of the world's greatest minds, but he can't be sure without clicking on the video. But on title B, we know our guest is an ADHD doctor and we know what he's an expert in. This makes potential viewers immediately trust that they'll get valuable information from this specific podcast. Now let's recap. Here's a simple guide to creating the best title and thumbnail combo to spark that fire. For the thumbnail visuals, use bold, contrasting colors and highlight the focus. Now, to create a curiosity gap, you can inform viewers with a surprising fact. This can be a controversial statement or a contrarian view, like how everything you know about coffee is wrong. You can also allude to a mistake that holds 99% of people back. Lastly, to establish credibility, create a label for your guest that shows that they're an expert. Some examples are love expert, #1 neuroscientist, and CIA spy. Now, if you're a famous individual or celebrity, you can just use their name. Now that you have the spark, let's go into the next element of a viral reaction. You see, a spark can only last so long without something to keep it alive, which is where the fuel comes in. The fuel, it guarantees that the fire stays lit, and in your case, that's what keeps the views rising. But what is the fuel for podcast views? To explain this to you, I need to show you the beginning of two different videos. One video got 11 million views, while the other one only got 115,000 views. Try to find out which is which and why.
Some of the greatest seducers were not good looking at all.
What are the qualities of a great seducer?
I'm revealing stuff I shouldn't be revealing.
Robert Greene is one of the best-selling authors in history.
An internationally renowned expert on power strategies.
Been referenced in songs by Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Drake.
Written 6 international bestsellers that have become legendary.
Why did you write a book about seduction?
Seduction is a high form of power. People will do what you want without ever even realizing it. Seduction is a mating ritual. You can't just swipe and get it. But because of all the dating apps, if you are able to understand the language of seduction, you're going to have so much more power and success than anybody else.
Now let's watch the second video.
This is the first podcast I've done this year where we had tears, and not just once. And I don't really know how to introduce this conversation. I guess the thing I want you to know is that things aren't always what they seem, and...
Okay, I think that's enough. Now try to think which video performed better and why. Now, it's probably not hard to figure out that the first video got more views, but maybe what you didn't figure out is exactly why. Well, here it is. Successful podcasts start with a strong hook, which is the most engaging part of the interview that keeps viewers invested once they've clicked. But what most people haven't realized yet is that one hook isn't enough anymore. You need multiple hooks to keep people interested. Now, if you watch video A, you'll notice it tackles several different facts to keep people interested, while video B doesn't even have a proper hook, as the host stumbles around the topic without ever having to say what exactly it is. So the hooks in the video A pull the viewer deeper and deeper into the content, just as fuel sustains fire and allows it to grow stronger. But there's something else that video B gets wrong, and you should avoid this at all costs if you want your podcast to get views. Video B has no promise of value. Now, promise of value is an implicit signal that conveys to the viewer that you'll be rewarded for spending their time and attention on this video. In other words, it's what the viewer will get out of the video. Your promise of value can come in many different forms: entertainment, education, life advice, emotional validation, or any other experience the viewer might not find elsewhere. Now, in the 11 million view video, it promises education. By the end, viewers expect to learn how to seduce anyone and become more successful. But in video B, it's really unclear what the viewer will get, besides crying at a potential sob story. But there's something else at play for the 11 million viewed video, something that we've already discussed. It happens here.
What are the qualities of a great seducer?
Here.
If you are able to understand the language of seduction, you're going to have so much more power and success than anybody else.
And here.
I'm revealing stuff I shouldn't be revealing.
If you thought curiosity gaps, you're absolutely right. Just as we discussed with thumbnails and titles, curiosity gaps are a powerful element to use in your hooks. To create curiosity gaps in your intro, go back to the previous section and follow the steps that I gave you. Now, to put everything we discussed into practice, remember, your hook should feature the most compelling part of the conversation, whether it's an unexpected insight, a provocative question, or an exciting reveal. Think of it as the why behind your video that keeps people interested beyond the first few seconds. And to successfully create a promise of value in your video, just do one of these things. Mention an accomplishment that many would envy.
Robert Greene is one of the best-selling authors in history.
Allude to how the viewer will make more money.
To make a lot of money, you don't need to be a genius. You just need to remember a few key things.
or bring up the benefit to the viewer, whatever it may be.
If you are able to understand the language of seduction, you're going to have so much more power and success than anybody else.
Now, putting this strategy into practice can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. My team and I have worked with several professionals, from financial experts to doctors, and helped them generate millions of views. Just like Tanner, a leather craftsman who, after working with us, got 800,000 followers and over 100 million views in just 6 months. So if you want to scale your social media audience like Tanner, then you can book a call with my team using the link in the description. Now you're ready to learn about the most essential part of making your podcast explode, but that people often forget about. You see, the spark and the fuel will bring attention to your podcast, but here's what will sustain and accelerate its success. Now, if you remember back to your science class, you know the last thing that you need to create fire is oxygen. But what is the oxygen of creating a podcast empire? The answer is on a different platform. Here's what Steven did to get over 100 million views on TikTok and Instagram. He shared short videos from his podcast. Now, when you share the best bits from your podcast online, it's easier to get the attention of more and more people. And in turn, when they watch the clips, they'll want to watch the whole podcast on YouTube, creating this self-sustaining cycle. Now, this has been proven several times from creators like Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan, who have used the same strategy to reach millions of views in their podcast episodes. These short videos work like bursts of oxygen because they allow the fire of your content to spread and reach new audiences. But I need to warn you, creating podcast clips is not as easy as it seems. Steven had a very specific strategy to make this work, because you can't just choose a random clip or put your podcast into AI and hope it will give you hundreds of millions of views. The best clips are engineered to be the best, which is why you need to build a structure for your clips. But don't worry, Steven has a formula for it, and we're gonna break it down just for you. This video got 3.1 million views, and this is the secret behind it. Now, each sentence in the video serves a purpose to keep you engaged. Let's see how.
Feeling stuck is a signal that you've stopped growing.
The first sentence creates a curiosity gap because this information we don't often hear. Now, the viewer wants to know more. They're thinking, well, how exactly does being stuck mean I've stopped growing? This opening is also effective because it talks directly to the viewer and addresses a common problem.
And when most people feel stuck, they don't understand that it's tied to a fundamental need for growth. We believe it's an existential crisis and we blow up our lives.
This next sentence sets the scene for a mindset shift. This is when you reveal something that makes a viewer think of a problem or a situation in a completely new light. But for now, we're just building up to this big reveal. We're giving viewers a bit more context, but we're not revealing everything. The door was cracked in our first section, and now we're pushing it open a bit further. This is a subtle way to give the viewer a reason to keep watching.
For most human beings, what actually will get you feeling like you're not stuck is having something in the future that you're looking forward to, or taking a class where you're learning something, or changing a routine so that you try a new class at the gym. Learning anything gets you back in touch with a fundamental need.
Now we're explaining the solution and delivering on the value we promised. A golden tip here is to stick to the story and not overcomplicate things.
It makes you start to feel like things are moving.
Now here's what most people miss. Just delivering a mindset shift isn't enough. You have to explain the result of implementing the solution. This is where the real aha moment happens. To implement this, you can share an unexpected insight, or you can solidify your mindset shift. Here is the guest solidifying the previous point by explaining the results of the situation.
From that place of feeling a little bit more empowered, you'll be able to make better decisions about what big things need to change in your life.
And now is when you add in a little spice. This might seem a little silly, but motivating people in your video is super powerful because it makes them feel really good. And when they feel good, they want to watch your content again and again. So give viewers a glimpse into how they can change their lives with the information that you just shared. Explain how this insight affects them and include an implication or action item to leave the viewer inspired. This will motivate them to do something about their situation and watch your content again. That way you can get views but also genuinely help people. Now here are the action points to create a podcast clip that spreads like wildfire. First, build a curiosity gap. Second, set the scene for the mindset shift. Third, give the solution. Fourth, add a mindset shift. And lastly, inspire viewers to change their lives. With all of this, your podcast will explode. You'll get the views, the influence, the speaking gigs, and all the other opportunities that you've always wanted. But if you're not only after virality and you also want to make more money on YouTube, I know someone who blew up their channel and now makes $11,257 a day. And the best part is, the method he uses is fairly simple, and anyone, no matter what they do or talk about, can follow to get similar results. So if you want to find out how you can make over $10,000 a month on YouTube without any special skills, watch this video here.